Welcome to day 27 of the daily vlog for the month of April. Today I wanted to talk about dreams. So I woke up today I woke up from a dream, and it wasn't a nice dream. It kind of made me depressed, and I haven't been really able to shake it for hours now. I'm it's because I'm trying to work through things and I'm sort of rolling around my head without it, hopefully not spiraling down into something deeper. But it doesn't help. My husband and son are away for the day, and so I'm kind of alone here with my thoughts, which I'm going to be, after I get this video done, I'm actually going to get out of the house because I don't, really want to think about it. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about dreams and the impact they have on our moods and our lives. Not all dreams cause me to be depressed. There's been dreams that have given me some profound insights. I've heard, the usual advice people might give me and it doesn't hit home, but then like when I dream it, obviously something does, because one dream I had, I remember I was dreaming, it was in this field, and there was a huge tree that had been cut down, to a stump, and there was an old woman sitting there, a woman that I never saw before. I don't know what she was based on, but I remember coming up and I sat at her feet and I said, "But grandmother, how can I pick my path if everyone keeps picking it for me?" And she said, "You're the one that has to face the consequences and deal with the destination." And that was pretty obvious, but it didn't hit as close to home as when I dreamed it. So that really struck me as like I had to start making decisions for myself and not letting anybody influence that, because they're not the ones that deal with the decisions I have to make in my life. And I've also had dreams that I couldn't really interpret that much. Like, I had a series of dreams with yellow jackets in it. Now, I was stung in real life. I was on a hike and somebody had kicked over a rock that there was a yellow jacket's nest, and everybody got stung. I remember getting hit like 8 times. But in the dream, like, it was kind of funny because in the first dream, I remember the first and the last. I don't remember the two in between, but I remember there was at least 4 or 5 dreams that I had. The first dream, I'm trying to fly in a broom. And I remember the dream, like, I could feel like it is very hard to sit on a broom when it's in flight. And I remember to get it up above the trees, I had to lift, and it wouldn't lift, and I couldn't get above the trees. And somehow, like, I had brushed against a tree that had a wasp nest in it, and they had come and they had stung me. And then I woke up. And now, but the last dream, I remember standing with someone, I can't remember really who it was, but I was standing in a whole cloud. There was a swarm of these yellow jackets, and then they were flying around. And I remember not being afraid at all and thinking they were so beautiful, And I think that kind of leads to one of my points I wanted to make about dreaming, is that your attitude towards something in dream is very profound. Like, if, say for instance, you hate snakes and you have a dream about a snake and you're not frightened of it, or you're not disgusted by it, that could mean something. That means, because that is a symbol that in your waking hours provokes a reaction, and in the dream it should provoke the same. And if it doesn't, then maybe that your subconscious is trying to tell you something. Now, a documentary I watched one time on dreams was really fascinating. I'm going to try to look it up and post in the description. But it was really, I think it was by Nova. It was, and they were talking about how in your dreams they would research people when they would let them play video games, and then when they dreamed and they started going into what's called the REM, the rapid eye movement stage of where they're dreaming, they'd wake them up and ask, what were you dreaming? The one guy, he was playing a video game which was a skiing game where you actually had to stand on this thing and you're moving your body like this, because you're skiing downhill. And he said his one dream was he was walking in the snow. And so they kind of deduced from that how his dreaming of how to walk in the snow was teaching his body how to deal with the shift of being on real snow. And the next day he actually improved his game. So this kind of shows you that sometimes your dreams are simulations of some sort, even if they're mundane. Like, for instance, if I was getting into a new hobby like guitar playing or web design or something, some of my dreams would incorporate that in some way so that the next day that my skills are a little bit better, or at least one would hope. And that kind of reminded me of this one dream I had where the dream I had, a serial killer had captured me, and I was on top of a roof. And like in movies where you have the villain goes through what's called dialoguing, telling you their plan and basically what's going to happen to you and all this. And this is what this guy was doing in my dream. So I'm standing there thinking, oh my God, he's going to push me off the roof. He's going to kill me. So as soon as I realized, and he's still going, he's still talking, I punch him in the face. I didn't even, I wasn't going to wait. I just punched him in the face, and I remember waking up. But I remember thinking in my dream, okay, I got away because, you know, he was still hurting. But I guess I'm all set for dealing with people. I just punch him in the face. And other dreams can be sort of a mixed match of symbolism. Like, I have a series of dreams of being in houses that are decrepit, that they're falling apart. Like, I remember one dream, it was kind of like, oh, I can't remember the name of that one house. Winchester House, where you open a door and it doesn't go anywhere, or you go up, the stairs lead up to the ceiling, you know, there would be a window that doesn't go outside. You know, the Winchester House, if you look up, it's fascinating, but it's very crazy because this woman thought that she had to keep building and building because all the Indians that were killed by the Winchester rifle, because her husband had created the Winchester rifle, she believed these spirits of these Native Americans were going to kill her, and so she had to constantly add on to the house. So she was adding more and more and more, and now it's just this crazy. A lot of things it was to confuse the spirits. Like, you know, apparently going upstairs that lead to no upstairs is confusing for a ghost. But in my dream, which was similar to, I guess, what would be the Winchester House, because there was like, you open up and it was supposed to be a closet, and it would just be a wall, and then you go up these stairs, and the stairs just lead up to the ceiling, and you know, it was weird. But the difference is this was not new. This was a house that was breaking down and very decrepit. It was literally crumbling. And I remember in the dream there was water coming from somewhere and just running down the wall, and all, you know, like the plaster and stuff was being broken away. I kind of interpret that having to do with my own house, because my house needs so much work, and as the years go by, it's still falling apart, and nothing's really, you know, getting fixed about it. So that's sort of a manifestation of one of my irks, peeves, you know, problems that I have with my life. So some dreams manifest even through your, like, physical body. I remember one time dreaming about, like, all these little tiny bugs all over my hand, and just as I woke up, because I was kind of freaked out, I had apparently slept on my hand, and you know when your hand falls asleep, and it was in the process where I apparently rolled over, where I was getting the circulation back, and it was tingling, and it felt exactly like a whole bunch of bugs on my hand. It was kind of horrible. It was freaking me out. To me, also, the ability to gain vision or alternate state of consciousness is very akin to dreams. Dreams are when you're through the REM stage of sleeping, but alternate states of consciousness can be provoked by several things. Could be drug use. And one time it happened to me when I was in a drum circle. This is when I went to a pagan festival, and they did drumming all night long. You know, it would just every single night. And so I was in there one time. There are 2 drum beats that can provoke this state of mind where you go into kind of vision. So what happened is I was sitting there listening to the drumming and watching the dancers and stuff, and then all of a sudden, I'm not there. I was like flying over the African savannah, and you know how, like, you've seen it in nature documentaries where the planes are going over and then all the animals are running and stuff? Well, it was kind of like that, except I was flying and I could feel the wind on me as I was doing that, and I was the animals at the same time. It was very weird, and all of a sudden, like that, it was over, and I was back where I was, and I remember feeling very, very disoriented. Now, if I had gone through and actually had reached the state of consciousness with a purpose, I think the vision that I had would have been more profound. But otherwise, I think if you're not prepared or with a goal when you go into some sort of, like, vision quest or something like that, you end up getting a lot of noise. A lot of times too, when you first start getting into things, like I've tried crystal ball gazing, I think there is always this threat of your fears can manifest, you know, in many ways. And I remember a roommate of mine was also doing crystal ball gazing. We were doing that one night, and he was seeing devils. Now, he was Catholic, and I kind of believe in the saying, like, you could take the Catholic out of the church, but you can't take the church out of the Catholic. He was kind of like that. He did have a lot of these fears that, even though he did believe in Wicca and was believing in the teachings and stuff like that, I think there was still a lot of fear that as he grew up as a Catholic, although there's demons and Satan's out to get you, and there's always that temptation and stuff. I didn't really have that. I didn't see demons and stuff. I saw what I would interpret it as just brain noise, I guess. Because what happens is when you're going into scrying, or you're going into empty mind. When your brain gets bored like that, and there's nothing going on, your brain will give you things. It could be a vision, it could be smells, it could be sounds. With me, when I looked into the crystal, it's sort of like what they describe. It's sort of smoked over, and then when the smoke began to clear, I remember seeing a face, and the face turned and looked at me. And then another time when it cleared, I saw a field. Now there was no point, there was no interpretation, there was no symbolism in it, because I wasn't really looking for anything like that. But to me, the same, like using scrying, or when you're tarot or whatever, you're still touching upon that same sort of part of the brain that the dream is doing with the symbols. And a lot of times my dreams are very vivid, where I can feel things, like I can feel the breeze. Or one time I remember dying in a dream. They always say, like, oh, you die in real life. That's not true. In my dream, I was chased, and it was in this old factory, and I remember it was like a serial killer, and he liked to slice people up. And I remember falling into this vat, and it was this really murky, nasty water, the water that sits around and stuff's growing. And I remember falling in that and looking up, and I could see him, and I remember seeing red in the water. I remember going like this, and I could actually feel like he had sliced my face, and then I died. I basically drowned and stuff, and then I woke up. So I don't know if that was just my wild imagination, or a symbolic death, or whatever. It's kind of hard. Sometimes I don't even bother trying to interpret my dreams, because I'm just like, it could be the part of my brain where my stories come from. So I guess that's really all I wanted to kind of blither on today, was about dreams and how they kind of impact our waking lives. And so now I have to edit this video, and then I'm going to go get out and try to shake this sense of weirdness since this morning. You hear the siren? I'm surprised my dog's not howling. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thanks for watching.